Alrighty, here we go. Hi, everybody. Let me get that one message put out there. Welcome to StreamYard. Wow, I am BeautyBubble, and I'm showing you the Bitcoin chart 51,234 as we roll into the last hour of the day, and keeping an eye on things. A lot to say about us under the 50, in the 51s. We would rather have a stay at the 52 or else take a serious flush. Just go ahead and be done with it and get back down to the 243 so that people have an opportunity to participate. All right. Okay. So we're going to continue on with the virtual events series, and today I actually took a look at what was happening with a group of conferences from the good folks of Party Slate. And if you're over at my Twitter, you will see that I've listed some of the companies that were involved in this one discussion that I decided that I'd really kind of make sure that I was listening to properly, because these are women in the space, in the Elegance event space, and they were trying to give the virtual events organizers some ideas on what their thoughts were to encourage participation, sticking around, doing the galas and the more like dressy fundraiser events. And I then went over to a business conference thinking about what their event would look like in real time and in real life. I was like, you know what? I want to say something about what elegance is and isn't. And I think that part of this concept of glamour and what glamour is has me really kind of, I want to study this a little bit more, because what they're talking about, monogram solo cups, and that makes things elegant, is so far afield from my ideas. And I think it has a lot to do with interiors that you've lived in. It could be even, how you maintain your car. There's just like, there was something really missing. So I'm hoping that during the hour, provided that we don't have to roll it back over to the Bitcoin talk, which we may have to do actually, 51,337. Okay, and we are struggling a little bit here with the 841 cross short taunting at 5 minutes after the hour. So that's where we're at on that. So, and I'm not gonna, this is not a script. I don't have any notes written down. I'm just kind of like going through my own life experience and understanding what elegance is. So let me talk to you about it from the point of view where lighting is the focus to achieve elegance. And why would I say that? Well, if you've ever been here come the cough. Here's the cough. Oh my God. Can I just get over this? Please, let me get over this. If you've ever been to an event, but but you're there, maybe you're at the hotel a little early and you decide to, peek in, right? And you're seeing everyone hustling and bustling and all of that. And you're like, oh, maybe your eyes will avert, and oh wow, the flowers are beautiful, and oh wow, the tables are so well put together as far as the spacing and all of this sort of thing. Or, maybe the band is setting up, and you're seeing it before it actually happens. And then of course you go into it and it's all been transformed. And one of the reasons that happens is that, especially if you have a lighting designer, they create this energy, and this is what light does. The absence of light, when you just have, the fluorescence on, especially if you've been to a restaurant that's maybe you've been there all night, and then they're going to call, it's last call, but maybe someone at the restaurant, so you stick around, and then before you know it, they're flipping all the lights on, and you're like, I was here? Like, this is what it really looks like? And you're kind of shocked, because you're actually seeing it. Maybe the linens have been taken off the tables. You're seeing the chairs lined up a different way. Sometimes you'll even be in a restaurant where they've actually put the chairs on top of the tables, and you're like, oh my gosh, right? And it's just a filthy mess. And a lot of events, and the metaphor, of course, is that they're just kind of filthy all in all, because they're just not yet put together. And what happens with a good lighting designer, and we'll talk about outdoor events where you can't control the light, but the attitude, it changes, because you have shadow and shading, and there can actually be light sources even in an outdoor event. And so you kind of lose the luster. All right, so the virtual event is kind of like the restaurant that is just about to literally send everyone home, right? The only people that are there are what's called the cleaning crew. And that's kind of what a virtual event for me, right? Seeing the ones that I've participated in, that really, now that it's been a while now, I still have yet to see one or participate in one that doesn't feel like the bottom of a shoe. And there's no fault. I'm not bringing this up because I think it's the fault of anyone. I just think that some things need to be, that replication has to be forced on us. And how do we do it? Well, we certainly don't do it with monogram solo cups. For me, okay? This has so much to do with dress code and the lighting that is happening in the person's residence and what they feel. Do you understand? Because if it wasn't like that, as some wonderful hostesses understand, that if you're a really good hostess, you will host parties in your home, because your home is built to do it. It has all the elements to have a beautiful event. Or you have to force it, right? So we've heard about the swag bags, and okay, well, we can force it in a certain way, but from what I understand, outside of T-shirts and sort of things like that no one is getting, no one is getting all of the things that are required to have an elegant virtual event. It's really troublesome. It's really, really something else. So I'm probably going on too long trying to prep this talk here. 51,293. So in order to kind of put some clarity around it, why don't I do this? We got the AD, right, Architectural Digest. Serena Williams, of course, is on the cover of this month. And we're just going to open it up. Okay, and the first ad that we have is from Saks Fifth Avenue. and beautiful model, beautiful lighting, shadowing, and this sort of thing. We're just going to stop right here because the ad world, right, print ad, can give us clues on how we can create a virtual event that is at the immediate, right, at the get-go is something elegant. And it can happen with the invite, the right colors being selected, the right concepts being shared. But of course, most of what we're seeing is left and right text. And that's it, right? Because we're supposed to go with all of this kind of very streamlined graphics going out to the public. But in some ways, we have to add the right amount of textiles and warmth to bring out the elegant part of an event, a virtual event. So this is one thing that we can do. And I think that it would be interesting to see whether or not we can replicate and go through and create an elegant virtual event by using one of the display ads that is in the Architectural Digest this month. So we'll go through here and pick one that kind of looks like it's just the most perfect event. Now, when I first started to do the series, I think I showed you a library lounge. And we may even just have to bring that image up again, and we'll just continue talking about how is it that beyond saying that it's a gala and saying that it's an elegant event or saying that it's a black tie affair, how do we really, really pull this off in the virtual space? Okay. All right, let's take a look at where we're at there. And we're good, we're good. We're all good. We're good. Okie dokes. All right, we're going to read from the book, I guess. Rebel Talent by Francesca Gino. And we were on page 122, I believe. All right. Once the class began, I looked around at the executives, most of whom were men. I couldn't help but imagine that they were wondering why they did not have a more experienced, thinner professor leading the class, someone not at risk of passing out from exhaustion or suddenly going into labor. They were leaning back in their chairs as if signaling that they were not interested in what I had to tell them, as if they doubted my teaching skills. Were my perceptions correct, or had the student's comment rattled me? Moments like this have stuck with me over the years. Sometimes they come to mind when I'm preparing for an executive education class. or a consulting meeting or running a training session in the field. They make me wonder what expectations my audience might have based on my female first name, and then after I enter the room, what additional assumptions they make. Women in my classes often relay feedback they have received in their own organizations, comments that they doubt male colleagues get, observations about their dress, criticisms of their assertiveness, and other remarks that have nothing to do with their actual work. The effect of such judgment is truly insidious. Imagine, for example, that you are a woman, likely easier for some of you than others. You walk into a meeting and see that all of the other participants are male. Before anyone speaks, you feel less confident than the men about you will come across. So you find yourself hesitating before speaking. That's when one of the men jumps in and proposes an agenda. You try to argue a certain point, but your voice betrays your nervousness. Detecting your insecurity, the men dismiss your comments. Their dismissal leaves you shaken, and you fall silent. Too bad, because the subject under discussion is one you know well. When you speak up again, you have trouble holding the floor to present your view. The final decision suffers the absence of your expertise. This is common, especially when outnumbered. Women are frequently interrupted, talked over, shut down, and penalized for speaking out. Research consistently shows dominate both conversations and decision-making processes in corporate offices, school boards, town meetings, and government. In fact, the more power men have, the more they talk, which is not the case for women. Similarly, men who show anger at work are rewarded with more respect and authority, but angry women are seen as incompetent and unworthy and are penalized. These experiences in turn affect confidence, expectations, and future behavior. For instance, the sexist comments I received in my executive classes made me nervous about teaching or even interacting with executives in the future. Psychologist Claude Steele refers to the phenomenon as stereotype threat, or the tendency to choke and underperform due to the fear of bias. Consider the stereotype that female students are naturally inferior in math and science. In a study in which women are reminded of their gender before taking a math test, they scored lower than equally qualified men who took the same test. The women's performance suffered because they were worried about confirming negative stereotypes, the researchers found. However, when reassured of equal ability before the test, the women matched the performance of men. Similar results have been found for African American and Latino students. Stereotypes predict they will underperform in academic pursuits relative to whites, and they do underperform when primed to think about race. Reminders can also be visual. Studies have shown that women score higher in math when surrounded by other women than when testing on a mixed gender group. All right, let's take a look at price. Okie dokes.